awareness of mental health issues. Today, I have with me two fellow ladies who have also experienced postpartum psychosis like myself. I have with me Shahida. Assalamu alaikum, Shahida.
Alaikum salam.
And I also have with me Ikra. Assalamu alaikum, Ikra.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on the show today to share your experience of postpartum psychosis and motherhood generally. Obviously, not everyone knows what postpartum psychosis is, so I'll let Shahida explain what postpartum psychosis is, what the symptoms are, what the signs are, and how to look out for it when you have a woman who has just given birth.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So, like Zebi said, a lot of people have heard of postnatal depression, anxiety, and baby blues after they have a baby, but no one's actually heard of postpartum psychosis. It's actually a very severe but treatable mental illness which happens in the days or weeks following childbirth. And the symptoms can be really distressing and scary. I'm going to go through some of the symptoms. So, delusions. So, strong beliefs that others don't share, special powers, connection to God, special messages being sent to you or receiving special messages. Women can have hallucinations, so they can see, hear, feel, or smell things that are not there. A common symptom is mania, which is very high mood, overactive, overexcited, a lot of confusion. So women will have racing thoughts. Their thoughts feel out of control. Their mind is moving really quickly. And you start to make connections and links with things that are not there. And the other symptoms are extreme paranoia, not being able to sleep. And then that develops into not have a feeling of that they don't need to sleep anymore. They can be very irritable, very argumentative, talking very fast, and entirely behaving in a way that is out of character for that person. The symptoms can get really bad really quickly. That's why it needs to be treated as a medical emergency. And so, when we talk about some of the causes aren't fully known. There's a lot of research that still needs to be done. But it's more likely if someone in your family has already had postpartum psychosis. They think it's something to do with a change in the hormones. We all know that women's bodies go through such a big change when they give birth, and the hormones are up and down and change quite rapidly. And also they think there's a link to disrupted sleep, so not getting enough sleep. There's a question mark about trauma, whether that be birth trauma or previous trauma, whether that plays a part in women developing postpartum psychosis. But like I said, a lot more research needs to be done. So we can talk about treatment. So it needs to be urgently treated. Either you go to your GP straight away if you're having any of those symptoms, or go to A&E. Most women do need to be treated in a hospital, and the best place for them is a mother and baby unit. Again, similar to postpartum psychosis that people have never heard of, people have never heard of mother and baby units either. They're actually specialist units to treat women with this severe mental illness, but we keep the baby with the mother at the hospital. The babies are looked after by trained staff while the mother's recovering. And the idea is that as they recover, they'll start to build a bond with their baby and start to be able to do the things that they've been unable to do in terms of looking after their baby, and get lots of help and support with that until they're well enough to go home and look after the baby with themselves. So postpartum psychosis is treated with medication, antipsychotic medication, mood stabilizers, sleeping tablets to help them get back into a normal routine of sleep to help them recover. So yeah, that's what I want to say about postpartum psychosis, really. But we're going to go on to talk about our experiences, and we can talk about recovery as we talk about our experiences. Yeah.
So Shahida works for a charity called Action on Postpartum Psychosis. She does a lot of work with them around trying to build awareness within the BAME community, just British, Asian, minority ethnic groups. She also is working currently with an imam in her area, trying to create a booklet to do with postpartum psychosis. I'm sure she can tell us about that later. And I would describe Shahida as a mental health campaigner. She's had a relapse, but she's got through it. And at the moment she has a 6-year-old. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
Mashallah. And then we've got Ikra as well. She has many, many children, mashallah. And only after, so I'd describe Ikra as a warrior, because after 5 kids,
Oh,
she eventually had postpartum psychosis, and that was on her last set of children that she had postpartum psychosis. So she managed to do well with the rest, with everyone. Obviously, when you're a mother, it's difficult. Every single child that you're having, it gets more and more difficult because you're having to manage more people. It's like you're imagine trying to manage a football team, for instance. So when you have so many children, you're trying to manage them all. And I think you're doing a great job, Ikra. And yeah, you had a spell where you were unwell, and we connected. And I believe you also want to join the APP team one day as well.
yeah. Hopefully, that's the plan. Well, thank you for such a lovely introduction there. I'm just taking a moment to like let that sink in. But yeah, I actually I had no idea. Just like Shahida said, I had absolutely no idea about postpartum psychosis, or I didn't know there were mother and baby units out there. Like I had my twins, and week by week, I just started deteriorating, and just exactly the symptoms that she'd explained. Not sleeping, being irritable, sort of like believing things that aren't real, and just not really, like I just slowly was just losing my mind week by week. I think I got to about 3 months. The twins were about 3 months old, and things just hit rock bottom for me. I just absolutely was just living, living something that wasn't really reality. Like I just really strongly believed in things that weren't exactly real. And then it really played in my mind, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was really poorly. And eventually I thought the only result was to, I thought I was the issue, and I didn't think there was help out there for me. I thought maybe getting rid of myself, then everybody else would be safe, and because of the strange thoughts I was having, which then resulted in me I ended up in A&E, again sort of resisting help, like pretending to health professionals that everything was okay, and I just wanted to get back home. But when I remember this one lady just explained to me that, slow down, you're not getting locked up. We're not going to, lock you away and throw away the key. We're going to get you help. You're just a mom who needs to sleep. You need to go to sleep, and we've got a place that's, somewhere where your twins will be looked after, and everybody will be okay. You or the kids at home will be okay, and you just need to, abide by what I'm saying and just follow my instructions, and you'll be fine. And I remember getting to the mother and baby unit and just, receiving the helps, meeting other mothers that were poorly, and just sort of began my journey and recovery from there. And I'm so appreciative to the cause. That's why I'm here today. That's why I reached out to you, Zebby, because like now that I'm, fit and healthy, I can't stop thinking about, the ward that I was at, and the mothers that could be suffering right now, and just kind of wanting to say that everything's going to be okay, just like this woman I met in A&E who held me by my shoulders and shook me and said, you're going to be okay, like we've got help for you.
I think that's all a mother needs to hear, isn't it? When they're going through a hard time, just that one person who is real with them. I felt like I had that experience as well, where someone was real with me, and I had to have a few conversations, because sometimes when you're unwell, it takes some time to accept it. And it's nice to have those real people who are there, genuine, and they're telling you how it is. They're not sugarcoating anything. They're just telling you the truth that, you're ill right now, but you will recover.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I remember there was just like,
sorry, go ahead.
There was this one line that like the doctor, I remember, I think she was called Dr. Sarah, kept saying that you can't run with a broken leg. And it's true, like you can't run with a broken leg. Like just because you can't see a mental illness doesn't mean that you don't need to heal right now.
Yeah.
I like that. A nice
yeah,
analogy.
So similar to yourself, when I had postpartum psychosis, there were really just strong links to our religion, my Muslim faith. So it started off, I was really scared all the time. I had sort of baccarat playing in the house non-stop. I was obsessed with, having saying my four calls and blowing myself, protecting myself, protecting my daughter. For me, sleep deprivation played a big part because I'd spent a significant amount of time in hospital before she was born. So by the time she was born, I hadn't slept in almost 6 days. So for me, that was I feel a big factor. Then I got home, and like I said, it started off with being scared all the time. Then I think something or someone's going to harm my baby, and then that developed into, the special messages. I've got special powers or a special connection with Allah. My daughter's special, and that kind of just snowballed really. And my family, as with a lot of Muslim women who I speak to, talk about that overlap with our religious beliefs, that people think it might be a spiritual affliction. So, they'll try ruqya or whatever, some kind of spiritual healing. And my family were open-minded to both. So when they saw that I wasn't responding and getting worse, they knew that I needed medical help. Again, like yourself, Ikra, I tried to resist it. So I did go to A&E as well, but I kind of talked them out of diagnosing me with anything. And I kept saying it's because I haven't slept. I'm really tired. That's all it is. And they kind of gave me a few sleeping tablets and sent me home. But it got to a point where I got so bad. I had like an episode in my GP's surgery. We'd gone with my daughter, an appointment for her. And I'd kind of just lashed out, threw a cup of water across the room. My GP walked in, looked at me, and he just said, "Oh my God, she's really, really ill." Now that was on a Friday, and he referred me to mental health services. And that day I went to my mum's to stay there because my husband was just finding it really difficult. I mean, everyone was staying over at my house. My brothers were taking it in turns. My mum was staying over, trying to help look after my baby and look after me as well. And then my midwife and house visitor came to my mum's house on the Monday after I'd had this episode on the Friday. And again, I had an episode in front of them. I was on the floor. I was saying random things. And again, they were like, "Oh my God, she's really, really ill. She needs to be admitted today as an emergency." So I was actually sectioned and admitted to a general psychiatric ward. And then luckily for me, they got me a bed on the mother and baby unit within two days. So then I was transferred there. Again, it took a little bit of time. I was believing that the doctors were fake, the nurses were fake. It was a whole conspiracy theory. Like you, Ikra, I was scared they were going to lock me up and throw away the key. I was never going to see my baby again. But alhamdulillah, I responded really quickly to the medication. And it was almost, I describe it as if I'd just woken up from a really bad dream. And I realized that I'd been really, really ill and kind of tried to make sense of all those crazy thoughts that I'd been having. And for the first time, like I say, I heard about postpartum psychosis, Googled it, and realized that this is what has happened to me. And like yourself, that's now that I work for, I'll talk about my help from APP, but now that I work for them, the one thing I want to do is help other mums get the help sooner, because I was at home, like, you were 3 months, but I was 3 weeks, but quite severely unwell. And if I'd got the help sooner, perhaps it had not been as severe.
I totally agree. You can hear more about Shahida's story and my own story on the Action on Postpartum Psychosis website. What's the website, Shahida? Is it Action?
www.app.org.uk.
Perfect. So they can hear more about that on there. I feel like when I was unwell as well, I was unwell on 3 separate occasions over 3 years, and every single time my whatever I was going through was different. In the beginning, it was more like hallucinations and more anger towards my family members, and then the second time I think it was like I felt a bit lost just generally in life, and then the third time I think it was more hallucinations like how yours was, Shahida, where I was having like religious hallucinations. I kept on waking up every day thinking it was Judgment Day, and that could be quite traumatizing, isn't it, when you're going through that every single day for like.
It feels so real, doesn't it?
Does.
All those hallucinations and the delusional things, it just feels absolutely real to you. And it's like, and I think when I think about postpartum psychosis, I mean, I'm interested in science and biology anyway, but I'm just fascinated by what your brain can do and make you believe. It's just, but yeah, it's really, really scary, not just for the woman experiencing, but everybody around her, because they they can't help, or they can't do anything. And they're trying to support someone who's talking and saying things that don't make sense, and it's difficult for families to watch their loved one deteriorate.
And it is real. Like that's one thing I wanted to say. It is a real thing, because sometimes people might think, is it really real? Like what's psychosis? Does psychosis really exist? Oh, and then on top of that, what about postpartum psychosis? I'm not too sure. Oh yes, depression exists, but what about postpartum psychosis? I don't really know about postpartum psychosis. Do you know what I mean? So people are quite unfamiliar about it. So we're here trying to raise awareness of postpartum psychosis, because it is real. It does exist. And a lot of questions I get asked is, oh, you mean postpartum depression? Whenever I
Yeah.
say postpartum psychosis,
Hmm.
and it's just something that I get asked all the time. How would you say that it differs, Shahida? Postpartum psychosis, postpartum
Yeah,
anxiety,
I think
postpartum
the
depression.
I think the main difference is the severity of the symptoms. It starts really, really quickly. So the rapid onset and the severity of the symptoms, and um, it's almost like a mix of all those things. So with depression, you don't have, you have low mood, etc., etc. But with postpartum psychosis, it's almost everything all at once. You have these delusions, you have the hallucinations, you have the paranoia, and it's all heightened. It's all just at a really severe level, and it's very noticeable in the person straight away, because you'll notice that they're not talking how they normally talk. They There's something about losing inhibition, so almost inappropriate things that they're saying and doing in front of family, whatever, or friends. It's just that complete person behaving completely out of character, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is this is not this person. This is not my sister. This is not my wife. What's going on? And I think that's how you recognize it, by the rapid onset of it.
And even if you Google postpartum psychosis symptoms, this is what my partner did at the time. I was ticking every single box of postpartum psychosis, so it's quite
Yeah.
obvious. Postpartum psychosis can be quite obvious, especially when you Google it and you see the symptoms. Over communicating, lack of sleep, hallucinations, all these symptoms that you see, you can see them in real life as well, and then you can think, oh yes, they are going through postpartum psychosis. But it's just about educating people about it. I know when I was unwell, every single occasion, for me, like I want to talk about the help aspect. Help was too late for me, and if I had got help earlier, then that would have been a lot better. And because it was too late, I was in the organization mental health units for like 4 months every single time. And
The-
so I'm thinking, like, for me, I'd say it was too late, the help. Would
yeah.
you say the same?
There are statistics out there to say that Black and Asian women always go for help at a later stage when it's more severe. So almost as if they get to a point of crisis and then access services, whether that be through the NHS or through charities, whatever. Whereas white women are more likely to get help sooner when it's less severe, which means that the time they're ill is shorter, and the severity of the symptoms is lower. So these are the kind of health disparities that we're aware of in our Black community, in our South Asian community. We talk about maternal outcomes, and we know that outcomes for Black and Asian women are far worse than for white women. And it's asking the question, why? What can we do about it? How can we help? And number one for me is education. If
I
people
agree.
don't know about it, they're not going to know how or where to get help. And it's spreading the word, like getting people to talk about it, which is why I'm going to quickly talk about this Imam's Guide and why it's so important. Because the symptoms are so overlapping with our religious and spiritual beliefs that people might go to an Imam and say, my wife, my sister, my daughter is behaving such a way, she needs help. And, the Imam can ask, have they just, if they mentioned they've just had a baby, if we can educate the Imams and the people in the community that there's a specific medical illness that explains and exists to explain these symptoms, and they can say to the family, okay, let's investigate the spiritual side of things. But did you know there's something called postpartum psychosis? And have you been to your doctors and spoken about your loved one's symptoms and tried to get them help through your doctors? So that's one of the things I'm trying to do. And hopefully, with the organisation I'm working with, it's something that we'll be able to disseminate up and down the country to all the different masjids. So I think that's just one way of getting into the community and educating people about it, because then people might start having those conversations that they've not had before.
Because sometimes, like with imams, uh, some people might go to their imam rather than a mental health representative or someone from the NHS, or they might prefer to go to their imam. And if
Mm.
we're educating their mom, if we're working with their mom to improve services, like you're creating this booklet, which is great, it's fantastic. This can maybe sort of, you can tackle it straight away. If they're unwell and they're
Mm.
going to their mom straight away, it
Mm.
can be recognized straight away that, this person's unwell, they need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a really good route, working with imams, priests, whoever from all these
Yeah,
faith groups, and then
absolutely.
we can target the BAME community, which is what your work is doing, what my work is doing. We're trying to target the BAME community. We're trying to get them involved in mental health. And
Yeah.
I was saying that when it comes to getting them involved, it can be. I know because you're running a Muslim cafe group with Action on Postpartum Psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge of that, and you said it can be quite hard to get people on board,
Mm.
whether they're professionals or whether it's people that are people who have experienced illness and want to communicate about it. And it can be a bit hard. There are challenges, but
Yeah.
hopefully, doing things like this, like the radio and raising awareness through imams and other organizations, can maybe boost that. The amount of people that are coming to you.
Yeah, and we know that within our Black and Asian community, there's still a huge amount of stigma, stereotype, and it's still a taboo subject to talk about mental health. So it's just trying to break down some of those barriers. That's one of the things I'll just quickly tell you about my APP story. So I was told about APP, Action on Postpartum Psychosis, by a volunteer lady who was coming onto the mother and baby unit to give um, treatments to women, so manicures and pedicures, who would come onto the unit and try and just spend a bit of time with some of the patients. And when I was in the mother and baby unit, I used to keep myself to myself and spend a lot of time isolated in my room. But that day, for some reason, my husband was there with my baby, and I thought, you know what, I just need a little break. I'll go and speak to this lady, have a little foot spa. And for the first time, she spoke to me and told me about her experience of postpartum cyclists, and my mind was just blown, because this woman was describing exactly what I just experienced and was experiencing. And she told me about the charity, and she took down my details, and she actually sent me some information in the post to my home. So when I was discharged from the baby unit, I picked up this stuff and I thought, oh, I'll have a look now what this is, what she was telling me about. And I contacted the charity, and I was actually connected with a one-to-one peer support worker. I'm a born and bred Brummie, so I was in Birmingham at the time. So, and she came to meet me for a coffee near my home. And again, and speaking to someone who'd had postpartum psychosis, it was just, because when you have it, you think it's just you. You must be the only one this has ever happened to. You don't realize. You think it's like you said, Ikra. You think you're the problem. It's just you. There's something about you that's wrong. But there's so many women out there. And then the charity, again, they helped me. They supported me through my recovery. And then I actually did my peer support training and became a volunteer to try and support other women. And then I was asked to join and work with them on this diverse communities project, because there's a recognition even within the charity that actually the majority of the women who are coming to the charity and asking for help and support are white women. Where are the Black and Asian women, and why are they not accessing the support? Is it lack of education? Is it fear? Is it a lack of trust? And we're trying to build all of those bridges now. And I try and do a lot of work on social media with community groups, trying to just get my way in there to kind of say, would you like to hear about my story? And can I tell you a little bit about postpartum psychosis? Just starting those conversations to get the message out there.
What is fantastic is you have your story on the website, and anybody
Mm-hmm.
could easily access that and read it. And I've read your story as well. It's quite inspiring. And when you read all of
Yeah.
everyone's stories, everyone has a different version of their postpartum psychosis, and it just opens your eyes a bit. So it's really nice to see that there's an organization out there who is tackling postpartum psychosis. I think they are the biggest organization for postpartum psychosis
Yeah.
as well.
We're the only charity that specialises in specifically on postpartum psychosis. A lot of other mental health charities seem to be more broad and tackle, general mental health or other areas, but we are the only one for postpartum psychosis. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, they're doing a great job because I do work with them as well, and I think they're doing an absolutely fantastic job in what they're doing, raising awareness of something that not many people know about, and obviously having people like Shahida on board, trying to encourage things around diverse communities is great. It's fantastic, to be honest. I know that there is something coming up called Maternal Mental Health Week. Is there anything you're sort of doing for that, Ikra? So just so Ikra knows, they tend to raise awareness of different things throughout the year. And one thing that's coming up in May, I think is around the 5th of May, is something called Maternal Mental Health Week. And for that whole week, there'll be different organizations connecting with each other and raising awareness of maternal mental health illnesses. So one of them is postpartum psychosis. So yeah, is there anything that you think you could do or we should be doing, Shahida, for
I think
raising
just,
awareness about postpartum psychosis during this week?
yeah, I'm going to try and line something up maybe with an organisation to do something similar to this, a Zoom live or an Instagram live or something. But the charity this year, actually, they're focusing on suicide prevention. Something that, again, I don't want to scare people, but it does happen. We've got a gentleman working with us who lost his wife, who was severely ill with postpartum psychosis. Um, and yeah, sadly, she is not here anymore. It's raising awareness about that, and also being able to support families who've gone through that as well. That's one of the things we'll be focusing on as a charity. But talking about family, Ikra, I just wanted to ask you about your kind of support network that you had. What help you had in terms of recovery and support from your family and friends.
Well, I really struggled with letting it, with accepting the help. So I really just had support from my husband. I kind of didn't tell my family because, like I said, it's nobody really knows about postpartum psychosis, and just I was scared, what people would think of me, and then because I was still poorly, just I'd have so many more racing thoughts with that, and that would really overwork my brain of, do I want my mum to visit and see the state I'm in, and do I want my sisters to visit, and then I would overthink the whole process. But just going back to what you said about suicide prevention, like people don't realize how dangerous postpartum psychosis could actually be, and how you could really take a life. Like just speaking for myself, I ended up in A&E because I tried to take my life, and it got that bad for me. Like I just felt like I was the issue, and because I couldn't control my brain and what was going through my mind, I thought, before I acted on whatever I was thinking and did something I'll hugely regret, I need to get rid of myself. And that, to me, it just really hits home. Like, thinking I couldn't, my kids would have been without a mother if I didn't receive the help I received. Like, so yeah, it's quite intense. But with so with support, I just had my husband looking after my 3 older children, and I was on board with the twins. Just sort of getting by, just sort of accepting that I was poorly and there was an actual thing there. It's funny you say that, about with peer support with APP. I actually met a lady called Rachel, and it's such a shame because I would love to meet her now and to tell her how much she meant to me. But at the time when I was unwell, I didn't really let off how much her story helped me. So I was probably just quite emotionless, but listening into what she had to say to us about her experience with having twins, and she felt ill really soon. And I remember her just explaining, and I remember looking at her in awe, thinking, well, if she's here today, then I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. And that was just absolutely everything and more to me. But yeah, if I ever get to, I think it's Rachel, I don't know her surname.
Did you meet her? This is an APP person.
Yes,
yeah.
an APP person. She's a peer support worker at and her story really just meant worlds to me. It really just helped me. But I never got to tell her that either, which is a bit of a shame. I just never got to say like.
We've got about 3 Rachels. I'll try and do some.
She's got
Hopefully you can
twins.
meet her. Hopefully you can meet her eventually.
She's got
It was
twins.
amazing. She'd come on board and like really just with good. She had loads of enthusiasm. Would make us all go on walks. And obviously, you're not like a mother that's poorly there is going to be like, no thanks, I don't want to go for a walk, or no thanks, I don't want to come out my room. Like you said, just isolating themselves. And I sort of went through the same experience. But eventually, she got through to me. But I probably didn't really get to express that to her because you're kind of just in your own bubble and your mind's not working the same. And yeah, it's gone on a tangent there, but yeah.
No, it's actually really wonderful to hear, and I think I know which Rachel it is, but her surname's evading me at the moment. I will do some digging and find out who it was, and definitely connect you, because we just had an away day for the charity on Wednesday actually, and I met my peer support worker after it's been 5 years. So to see her again, it was fantastic. Just to give her a hug and just say, thank you once again for the support that you gave me. So it was something really special.
And I wanted to add as well, like just hearing about what you're doing with the imams and the guides, I just think that's such a wonderful idea, because Inshallah. I mean, I can only speak for my community, but coming from an Asian community of Muslim women and being in the Pakistani culture, again, like postpartum psychosis it's not a thing. You're classed as, someone who's just absolutely lost the plot. Like you're not given the sympathy for, this is why I was so hesitant to like reach out and ask for help. I didn't think there was help. So to have that option for like a mom or a husband or a sister to go to the mosque and speak to her mom and him to say, she needs NHS help. It's not the spiritual world. It's not, it's nothing to do with our religion. It would be amazing if that's something that's reachable for other families out there.
100%. I went to team building day, and on the team building day, someone said something that humored me a bit, but actually resonated with me. They said that, I'll just put it in a really small snapshot because I'm not going to read the whole story or the whole poem, but they said, imagine preparing to go to Italy, and then you're on the plane, and then you end up in, like, let's say Paris. How would you feel about that? Like, you've prepared, you've done all your research, and you've planned all your itineraries and things, and then you ended up in a completely different country to where you were meant to be. And that's motherhood as well. So, motherhood is like that. You prepare so much. There's so many courses out there that tell you that, this is what you should do. Breast is best. That's what I heard when I was unwell. Before I was unwell, when I was preparing to have a baby. Breast is best. This is the correct way of doing things. You need to do this. The temperature of the room has to be like this. All these things, and you're just thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do all of this? And then when it comes to having a baby, sometimes you go through trauma because you had a bad birth experience, and then after that you're having lack of sleep, you're having loads of things, and then you just sort of crash. Like I describe it as having a plane crash. Sometimes, when you just like become unwell, and then you have to deal with the after effects of the plane crash. So that's my sort of an analogy about when you're first a mother. You don't know the destination. You're going to the wrong destination sometimes, and then your plane crashes, and you have to deal with everything. And then, like in Ikra's case, she has a number of kids, and then she has to deal with the number of kids. Then she also has to deal with the actual new set of twins as well. And I struggled with just one kid and just having a husband and one kid, but you had a number of kids. It's a big struggle, and that's just something I wanted to highlight. It is, for me, motherhood can be a struggle, but in the end it does get better. What would you say, what has it taught you guys about motherhood, and how has it changed your perspective on things?
Do you want to go first?
We're too polite, aren't we? Okay, I'll go first. Do you know what? Just exactly what you said. I really like that analogy of ending up in the wrong destination. So, you know, growing up, you think, you know, you're pregnant and you're excited, you're buying things, you're just, you know, thinking of everything positive. You don't think you can get depression. You don't think you can be sad. You don't think that you're going to be in pain and you're going to be suffering and you've got like a newborn baby to look after. So for me now, whenever I hear, especially since the twins, whenever I hear anyone's expecting or about to give birth, I don't feel positive about it in my mind. Like, I wouldn't voice it out to them, but I feel scared for them. I feel like I look at them deep into their soul and I'm like, you're in for a ride, girl. Oh God, like it's so hard. I didn't have a traumatic birth for the twins. I just had a C-section. What was more traumatic for me was coming back home. I had my son is autistic, quite severely autistic, and his needs are quite high. So I had him not really understanding and sort of hitting my C-section all the time, and then just no sleep whatsoever because I couldn't nap, and I was doing the feeds. My husband would stay up with my son. If he woke up, I would stay with the twins, and then just kind of like it just snowballed, like less sleep. I was becoming more insane, more, you know, it just, for me, it wasn't like a straight bang experience of I came out of hospital and I was just, the world was different for me. It happened as a snowballing experience, and eventually I just, you know, completely just lost like all control of my life. But yeah, so I don't know if I've lost the question, but motherhood, it's a tough one, and I guess we're all getting through it, and we're all doing amazing. And you know, I've read both your stories on the APP website, and so inspiring, so inspiring.
So for myself, I don't mind sharing this. I lost my son. He was born prematurely, and he passed away a month after he was born. And so it took myself and my husband a little bit of time to kind of come to terms with that, and then think about trying again. And then when we did start, just try and start a family again, I actually had 2 back-to-back miscarriages. So the following year, when I fell pregnant with my daughter, there was just this huge kind of a lot of anxiety around it, around will this pregnancy progress, blah blah blah. And in fact, what happened, alhamdulillah, I had a really, really good pregnancy. I mean, I had to be kept under monitoring quite closely through the hospital. I was actually working for the same hospital at the time, actually. So to go into appointments, I literally just walked out of my office, walked up the road, and I could go for my regular scans and my regular visits. And it actually progressed really well. So me and my husband, we both just kind of focused so much on the pregnancy and just getting to having the baby that when she arrived, I almost hadn't even thought about it or prepared myself for it. And when she was actually there, and I remember being on the ward after she was born, close to midnight, just thinking, oh my goodness, she's here. And I felt really, really overwhelmed. And actually, when I look back now, I recognize that I started to become unwell in the hours after childbirth. I was really overwhelmed. I couldn't stop crying. I wanted to go home. All the sounds around me in the hospital was so loud. And so I recognize all those things now because you have heightened senses. So you kind of hear things see the sound louder. Or when you're looking at things, they look different. So that's one of the things that I started with. And I think that feeling of being completely overwhelmed kind of just took over. And that's when all the other symptoms, the hallucinations and delusions kind of kicked in afterwards. But it was that completely overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing, I'm hooked to these, machines, and I've got to pick up my baby, and feeding was not straightforward for me. It was really, really difficult. I really struggled. And I think that was my kind of moment where I say the straw that broke the camel's back, when my husband went out and got formula because she was losing weight and I wasn't able to feed her successfully. And I think I was just so devastated. And at that moment, I just felt like a complete failure. Like you say, Ikra, people make it look so easy, mashallah, like yourself, you've got 5 children, but, people have lots of children. They make it look easy. You never hear people complain about it. I was just feeling completely devastated that I'd completely failed as a mother. I was going to be a terrible mom. Can't look after her. She was, every time we'd hold her, she would cry. And my husband did a lot of the caregiving. And, actually, when I was really unwell, I was so jealous of him almost, because he was able to feed her and change her and all this. But it was all in my head. Maybe it wasn't a little bit. Every time I held her, she would cry, and again, those feelings of being a failure just kicked in all over again. But you realise that you just take those things, and now my daughter's completely inseparable from me. So you get through it. And I think what's one of the main things that I want to kind of highlight today, that it's totally recoverable. You do get better, and you go to that phase where you think, am I ever going to be the same again? Am I ever going to be that strong person that I used to be? Because even yourself, you're a strong, independent person. You don't think anything like that's ever going to happen to you. Like mentally, I always thought I was a really strong person, and I was the last. The same with my family. They was the last person they thought it would happen to, because I'm normally so on the ball, strong, independent, like I said, confident. But it can happen to anybody, and you shouldn't let that knock you either, because you can recover, make a full recovery, get back on your feet, and find yourself again. In fact, alhamdulillah, I say alhamdulillah. My experience has just made me stronger. I really believe it has made me a better and stronger person. And Allah's given me this opportunity now to try and help other people, and I'm kind of just grasping that with both hands.
Inshallah, I mean, I totally agree. It's definitely equipped me to have more confidence, and also I want to reach out and help other mums as well struggling, and not only other mums but also people who are experiencing mental health issues. I know, Ikra, you're fresh to this, but you also want to start helping out as well, and you want to help mothers, and hopefully your journey is going to be a good one as well, and you're able to make that impact, especially in the BAME community as well, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Was there any advice that you'd give to a mum struggling with her mental illness, Shahida?
Yeah, just reach out, and you're not alone. You're not the only person struggling, and different women have different struggles, but it can be really difficult. And don't feel that you can't talk about it, or you can't speak up about it. There's lots of different help out there. Speak to your GP, speak to your midwife, speak to your health visitor. Just tell them, I am not feeling okay. I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling myself. I think I need some help, and they can direct you to the services that are there. There's the mental health crisis services. If you're really in a crisis, there's community mental health out there. And actually, maternal mental health has come a very long way in the last 10 years, specialist perinatal teams, to people who are actually specialised in helping new mothers with their mental health. So there's help out there, and please do reach out and talk to someone. That would be my thing.
There are obviously booklets that APP have for different things that can help you through different things. So, like, one booklet is about how to look after someone going through postpartum psychosis, and there's a range of booklets, isn't there, Shahida?
There are.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are specifically about postpartum psychosis, but obviously, if you have any other issue, speak to a health professional about it. But we have some user guides that explain what postpartum psychosis is. We'll have one for partners. So, like I say, the husbands and the partners, they bear the brunt of it, really, because they're the primary caregiver for that person, and also this new baby as well. Because I simply wasn't able to look after my daughter. So there's some guidance for partners. There's and we've got some translations into different languages as well. So we've got one also about planning further pregnancies, because it can be really daunting. Like myself and Sebi, with that, our first baby is having had postpartum psychosis. There is a chance of having it again with further pregnancies. But if you manage it, have your care plan, have your medication ready, actually a lot of women go on to have other children without having to have experienced postpartum psychosis again.
I just want
So
to mention your profile. So you got Shahida Akhtar and Ikra Khan. You can find them both on LinkedIn. So that's SHAHEDA and space AKHTRR for Shahida Akhtar, and Ikra Khan IQRA and then KHAN. So Shahida Akhtar and Ikra Khan for LinkedIn, and myself, mind_off_mum. So that's mind off mum. Thank you so much for listening to us today. Thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a pleasure having you on. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Wa alaikum assalam.
Like